This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, first, a colossal winter storm has left at least 29 dead across the U.S. Over a foot of snow has coated a swath from Arkansas to New England, leaving hundreds of thousands without power. The EU is cutting off the Russian gas tap. Member states gave final approval to phase out all Russian gas by 2027, aiming to cripple Moscow's war chest. On the Gaza Strip, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the hostage crisis is over as the remains of the last captive have been recovered. Netanyahu vows the next phase of war will focus on total disarmament of the Strip. France votes to ban social media for children under 15. The National Assembly overwhelmingly passed the bill, championed by President Macron, to protect the mental health of the nation's youth. In Southeast Asia, security tightens as Philippine immigration detention centers. The move follows claims by a deported Russian-American vlogger that he smuggled a phone inside a filmed content while in custody. 6 kilos of shabu intercepted at Naiya. Authorities arrested a South African national at Terminal 3 on Monday after attempting to smuggle the illegal drugs into the country. And in the world of sports, Stephen Curry led the Warriors to victory in Minneapolis. Golden State cruised past the Timberwolves amid a heavy atmosphere following the fatal shooting of a local man by federal agents. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. For our first story, large areas of the United States are digging out after a powerful winter storm dumped heavy snow, disrupted travel, and knocked out power across multiple regions. The storm blanketed much of the country over the weekend, prompting states of emergency and warning that dangerous conditions could last for days. Washington, D.C. was among the hardest hit, with more than 20 centimeters of snow falling in less than 20 hours. Temperatures are forecast to drop to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Federal agencies in the U.S. Capitol closed on Sunday, following employees to work from home. Public transport services were reduced and thousands of flights were canceled at the city's 3 major airports. Supermarkets remained open, but many shelves were left bare as residents stocked up on essentials ahead of the storm. Authorities say at least 11 deaths nationwide have been linked to the severe weather, while widespread power outages and travel disruptions continue. The National Weather Service warns the system, which began Friday in the southern U.S. and moved northeast, could continue to bring freezing conditions to more than half of the country in the days ahead. A massive wildfire in Argentina's Patagonia region is rapidly escalating, forcing firefighters to retreat and closing critical as flames push toward populated areas. Over 20,000 hectares already destroyed, and strong winds continued to fan the blaze. Jane Cudnita reports.
A thick wall of smoke now blankets major parts of Chubut province as the Cholila wildfire continues its rapid and destructive advance across Patagonia. Driven by high temperatures and powerful winds, the blaze has now consumed more than 20,000 hectares of forest and grassland, marking a major escalation in the last 48 hours. On Sunday, the fire crossed Provincial Route 71, moving into the lowlands and threatening fields belonging to the Benetton Company. The situation became so dangerous the 40 firefighters stationed at the Las Golondrinas post were forced to pull back for their own safety as the fire began to generate its own wind systems.
El incendio, bueno, tiene varios frentes con muchísima actividad. Estuvimos desde hoy, de las 14 horas aproximadamente, entramos al puesto La Golondrina, que es en el ingreso a la naciente del Blanco. Ahí había como 40 brigadistas más 2 medios aéreos y bueno, tuvieron que replegar por una cuestión de seguridad.
Authorities have officially closed the road to Cholila to all traffic until further notice, as active hotspots remain near Puerto Patriada and Villalago, Rivadavia. Ground crews and volunteer brigades are battling the blaze with aerial support, but the dry conditions have made containment nearly impossible. Officials are warning that the fire's natural path is heading eastward, and they are urging the public to stay clear of the affected zones as emergency teams prioritize the protection of residential structures. As the disaster continues to unfold, local communities remain on high alert, waiting for a break in the weather that could finally allow emergency services to get the upper hand on the inferno. This has been Jane Conita, our Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered a sharp increase in tariffs on key South Korean imports, accusing Seoul of delaying approval of a major trade agreement. With Trump announced that tariffs on South Korean products, including automobiles, lumber, and pharmaceuticals, will rise from 15 to 25%. In a post on his Truth Social platform, Trump said South Korea's legislature had failed to ratify what he described as a historic trade and investment deal reached with President Lee Jae-myung last year. Trump said Washington had already lowered its tariffs under the agreement, but claimed Seoul had not met its commitments, thus the tariff hike. South Korea's presidential office said it has not received formal notice from the U.S. government. Officials confirmed the trade minister will travel to Washington for urgent talks. The agreement first announced in mid-2025, including a proposed $350 billion South Korean investment in the United States. It remains stalled in South Korea's National Assembly amid political and economical concerns. The tariff move reflects Trump's broader America First approach, using trade penalties to push allies toward investment and market access concessions. Meanwhile, Cambodian border communities are reeling after discovering their homes and religious sites have been seized and fenced off by the Thai forces. Despite a recent ceasefire meant to end deadly clashes, hundreds of families in Chok Che No find themselves homeless as new barrier lines withdraw the frontier. Joy Tabanao has the story.
In the village of Chokche, the end of the fighting has not brought peace, but a new reality of displacement. Homes and schools are now closed by barbed wire and shipping containers, forming a restricted perimeter guarded by Thai surveillance cameras and flags. Villagers who fled the recent conflict returned during the ceasefire, only to find signs strictly prohibiting Cambodian citizens from entering what used to be their own land. Local officials report that over 700 houses have been seized, along with 15 roads in the local school system, effectively erasing the community's infrastructure.
ថាដីគេទៀតឬទៅមកដីប្រជាពលរដ្ឋចេញពីផ្ទះអានេះខ្ញុំនៅទូចណាម្ដុំនេះសិតតែព្រៃឯងសិតតែព្រៃឯងអត់មានផ្ទះនេះគាត់តែកសាងបានផ្ទះបានសម្បែងនេះពិបាកអើទាំងប្រហែលឆ្នាំ30-40 ឆ្នាំ
The takeover has also sparked religious outrage. The Nongchan Pagoda, a spiritual center for the community, now sits behind Thai lines. Lay members of the pagoda claim that even their Buddha statues have been removed, leaving the displaced population without a place for worship or ceremony. The border region has been a flashpoint since December, with clashes killing over 100 people and forcing nearly 1 million to flee. While high-level talks continue, those on the ground say international law is being ignored in favor of jungle law, leaving 800 families to sleep in temporary shelters.
bị cọp khăn hơi thời này rồi cần cho bắp ơi mình cho bắp ơi cho bắp ăn tara chuyện của cho bắp ơi vậy này cho bắp prey mà lên vậy này chuyện bạn ơi chúng rộ ở chỗ bộ thời chơi hợp chuyện miền cái lệnh ở thượng bồn suối tiên.
As the ceasefire remains fragile, the residents of Chokche can only watch from behind the wire as their history and heritage are absorbed into the contested zone. Joy Banao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the hostage crisis is over as the remains of the last captive have been recovered. Netanyahu vows the next phase of war will focus on total disarmament of the Strip. And 6 kilos of shabu intercepted at Naiya. Philippine authorities arrested a South African national at Terminal 3 on Monday after attempting to smuggle the illegal drugs into the country. More news when Newsline World returns.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumunong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Ano kayang gagawin ko? Ipamimigay ko yung konti para tumigil sila sa pag-iingay.
Pare, magnanakaw, namimigay ng pera.
Eto ang sayo.
Wow, ang bait ng magnanakaw.
Eto naman sayo.
Kuya, yung
eto
share ko. Sana
Huwag ka nang maingay. Eto pa. Tama na yan. Nakikipalato lang kayo eh. Huwag nang maingay. Diba? Konti lang pinamigay ko, mabait na ako. Tahimik na sila. Easy. Ngayon, pwede ko na tong suluhin.
Masaya ang mga tao, pero tama po ba ito? Di po ba ang nakikinabang sa magnanakaw ay kasabwat ng magnanakaw?
Ikaw, kinukonsenti mo ba ang legal na korupsyon?
And we're back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed the recovery of the remains of Ran Gavili, the last Israeli hostage held in the Gaza Strip. Declaring the hostage crisis over, Netanyahu declared that the next phase of the conflict will focus on the total disarmament and demilitarization of Gaza. Paul Montibon will give us the details.
In a somber announcement in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that the body of Ran Gavili, an Israeli police officer killed during the October 7th attacks, has been returned to Israel. The remains were recovered during a complex operation near a cemetery close to the Yellow Line outside Gaza City, where forensic teams examined around 250 bodies for identification. The return of Gavili marks a historic milestone for Israel. Netanyahu stated clearly that for the first time since the war began, there are no more hostages, living or deceased, remaining in Gaza Strip.
לפני שעה קלה ישבנו הביתה את רני גבילי, גיבור ישראל. אין יותר חטופים בעזה. ואמרתי, אנחנו נחזיר את רני הביתה. הבטחתי לכם אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו נחזיר את כולם הביתה.
But Netanyahu signaled that the war is far from over. He rejected calls for immediate reconstruction, insisting that the next stage must be the hard or easy disarmament of Hamas. This transition aligns with the second phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's 20-point plan, which facilitated the October ceasefire. Hamas, meanwhile, claims it provided the necessary information for Gavili's location and is now demanding the full implementation of the deal, specifically the permanent reopening of the Rafah crossing.
אנחנו לפתחו של השלב הבא. מה זה השלב הבא? השלב הבא זה פירוק החמאס מנשקו ופירוז רצועת עזה. השלב הבא איננו שיקום.
As Israel shifts its focus towards demilitarization and regional normalization, the international community remains watchful to see if the end of the hostage crisis will finally lead to a lasting peace or a new era of security restrictions in Gaza. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
The Bureau of Customs Ninoy Aquino International Airport intercepted more than 6 kilos of shabu that a South African national attempted to bring in an NAIA Terminal 3 on January 26, 2026. The illegal drugs were discovered after the passenger's baggage underwent X-ray examination following a suspicious report received by authorities. After a thorough inspection and 100% physical examination, more than 6 kilos of methamphetamine hydrochloride or shabu were found with an estimated value of 40.8 million pesos. The successful interception was made possible through the coordination of DOC NAIA with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA. and the NAIA Interagency Drug Interdiction Task Force, the seized illegal drugs along with the suspect were turned over to the PIDEA for inquest proceedings for alleged violations of the Comprehensive Drugs Act of 2002 and the Customs Modernization Act and Tariff Act. DOC Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno emphasized that the successful operation demonstrates the effectiveness of intelligence sharing and joint operations among authorities to prevent the entry of illegal drugs through the country's ports of entry. Meanwhile, the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, has directed the contractor New Big 4J Construction Incorporated to repair the River Dike project that collapsed in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro. Sheena Torno will give us the details.
The Department of Public Works and Highways has issued a demand letter for New Big 4J Construction Incorporated, the contractor for 2 flood control projects in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro. This follows the River Dike projects constructed in Barangay San Andres, Nauhan, which were reportedly completed but subsequently found to be defective and substandard. Based on the contract agreement, each project is valued at over 200 million pesos. Consequently, DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon wants those responsible to be held accountable regarding the discovery of what is allegedly another set of substandard projects.
At itong bagong kontratista, itong New Big 4J, kakasuhan na rin natin ito. Dahil substandard. Yung ginawa nila, hindi lang dahil kulang yung sheet pile, pero dahil ngayon, konting ulan lang, ay gumiba na naman. So, lahat yan ay mananagot.
The Secretary added that he will personally visit the mentioned projects in the coming weeks. The DPWH has also formed a team of experts to conduct a proper assessment of the projects. In recent days, Oriental Mindoro Governor Bonch Dolor personally inspected the site where he found the projects heavily damaged. It can be recalled that the DPWH previously filed charges against those behind the alleged ghost flood control projects at the Mag-Asawang Tubig River Sitio Dique Barangay Apitong section in Nauhan Oriental, Mindoro, which resulted in the detention of 9 DPWH Mimaropa officials. However, the government is currently still hunting for former Congressman Zaldico and officials of Sunwest Corporation who are implicated in the allegedly anomalous project. For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has approved the National Digital Connectivity Plan, or NDCP, a landmark strategy aimed at speeding up the rollout of fast, secure, and affordable broadband infrastructure across the country to lower internet costs for millions of Filipinos. Presley Catalong tells us more.
During the 7th meeting of the Economy and Development Council at Malacanang Palace, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. approved the National Digital Connectivity Plan. The plan envisions a digitally connected Philippines, focused on delivering inclusive, reliable, high-speed, and secure digital services nationwide. It is anchored on 4 key pillars: strengthening governance and regulatory reforms to promote competition and reduce barriers to entry; expanding universal access, particularly in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas; boosting infrastructure investments through public-private partnerships; and ensuring climate-resilient, disaster-ready, and cyber-secure digital infrastructure. President Marcos acknowledged that the Philippines is playing catch-up with Southeast Asian neighbors that adopted digital connectivity initiatives earlier. However, he expressed optimism that with today's advanced and affordable technologies, the country will soon match regional standards in internet speed, coverage, and costs. By 2028, the NDCP targets universal internet access in public schools, barangay halls, and health centers, a 30 to 50% reduction in internet costs, and faster average internet speeds nationwide. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been President Catarong, SMNI News.
The Supreme Court has reminded new lawyers not to be complacent with their success. During the inauguration of a historical marker at the University of Makati, Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leon urged the 2025 bar passers to surpass the achievements of previous generations in the profession. Villan will give us more details.
Before law students and the newly passed lawyers of the 2025 bar examinations at the University of Makati, Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leonen issued a challenge. During the General Assembly and the inauguration of the 2020 to 2021 bar examinations marker at the said university, Leonen reminded the new lawyers not to succumb to comfort. He stated that the new generation must be better than their predecessors for the sake of the nation. Leonen also revisited his experience as chairperson of the historic 2020 to 2021 bar exams, the country's first ever digitalized and regionalized bar exams conducted amidst the pandemic. According to the justice, the crisis caused by COVID-19 became a blessing in disguise that compelled the judiciary to modernize. The Supreme Court thanked QMAC and the local government of Makati led by Mayor Nancy Binay for their support during the crisis. Leonen emphasized that the reforms initiated back then are continuing in the courts today. These modern technologies aim to expedite court processes and bring justice closer to those in remote areas. Reporting for Newsline World, Kai Villan, SMNI News.
When we come back, the EU is cutting off the Russian gas tap. Member states gave final approval to phase cut all Russian gas by 2027, aiming to cripple Moscow's war chest. And in Southeast Asia, security tightens at Philippine immigration detention centers. The move follows claims by a reported Russian-American vlogger that they smuggled a phone inside and filmed content while in custody. More news after the break.
Isang pindot lang, pwede kang maka-jackpot. Mukhang masaya at easy money lang. Sa murang halaga, pwede ka na tumaya sa online gambling at e-casino apps. Mayroong sabong, slot machines, mahjong, poker at iba pa. Kailangan mo lang ng smartphone, e-wallet at internet. Pero ang aliw na ito, unti-unting nagiging bitag para sa mga Pilipino. Lalo na kung ang paborito mong artista o influencer ang mukha ng app. Mas madaling makaengganyo, diba? Parang safe naman kasi may kilalang mukha. Pero sa likod ng ngiti, sugal pa rin ang itinutulak. At syempre, mas madali ring itago ang pagkalulong sa bisyong ito. Walang pisikal na kasino o pasugalan, walang kaharap, walang accountability, kaya't mas lumalala ang adiksyon. Dagdag pa rito, maraming online gambling apps at walang regulasyon. Sa likod ng mga makukulay na interface at papremyo, nakatago ang problemang bumabalot ngayon sa bansa. Ang pagkalulong ng maraming Pilipino sa online gambling. Pwede maglaro kahit saan, kahit kailan, kahit sino, bata man o matanda, pwedeng malulong. Ayon sa mga eksperto, ang pagkakalulong sa online gambling ay nagdudulot ng matinding stress at anxiety, pagkakabaon sa utang, pagkawasak ng pamilya, pagkawala ng tiwala sa sarili. At tulad ng ibang bisyo, may mga senyales ito tulad ng hindi makapagpigil kahit walang pera, palihim na tumataya, pagpapabaya sa trabaho, pamilya o sarili. Sa bawat taya, may mga taong tunay na kumikita, mga malalaking negosyante at investors na negosyo ang bisyo ng masa. Para sa kanila, perang pumapasok lang ito. Pero para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, kabuhayan at relasyon ang nauubos. At ang masakit, tila matagal itong nahayaan. Hindi ito naging prioridad ng mga nakaupo sa taas hanggang sa sobrang lumala at halos naapektuhan na ang buong komunidad. Ngayon, sa dami ng nalulong at sa laki ng pinsalang naidulot, saka palalong umugong ang mga panukalang batas para higpitan ng online gambling, gaya ng pagbabawal sa paggamit ng e-wallets para tumaya, pagtaas ng minimum bet, mas mahigpit na identity verification, pag-block ng mga illegal na gambling sites, at bawasan o ipagbawal ang mga ads na target ang kabataan. Maaari itong magmukhang laro lang, pero sa katotohanan, isa itong sugal sa kinabukasan. Ang kita na dapat sa mga pangunahing pangangailangan o ipon na uubos sa sugal. At sa mundo ng online gambling, mas madali kang matalo kaysa manalo. Huwag hayaang sugal ang magdikta sa iyong buhay. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo namalayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika, at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod, pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakakadepress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman diyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. Kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen, magbasa, makipagkwentuhan, magdasal, maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
And we're back. The King of Malaysia is in Russia to visit President Vladimir Putin. The two leaders shared a hug and viewed several exhibits in the museum's 20-column hall. Volleyball Russia has a story.
Malaysian King Sultan Ibrahim Ismail toured the Hermitage Museum with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday, signing the museum's guest book following their meeting in St. Petersburg. The two leaders were seen viewing Nicholas II's library, escorted by Hermitage Director General Mikhail Piotrovsky, before embracing and shaking hands at the end of the visit. Sultan Ibrahim arrived in Russia's northern capital on Sunday for a private visit. It is his second trip to Russia since diplomatic ties were established in 1967. His previous meeting with President Putin took place at the Kremlin in August last year. Putin and the King of Malaysia also toured Hermitage galleries, meeting in a 20-column hall before walking through the exhibits. The visit concluded with lunch at the museum's Arabian Hall. During the tour, the king asked how the artworks were protected during the Second World War siege of Leningrad. Museum Director Mikhail Piotrovsky replied that the museum survived thanks to strong air defense and preservation efforts. Sultan Ibrahim arrived in St. Petersburg on Sunday for a private visit, his second trip to Russia since diplomatic relations were established in 1967. He last met President Putin at the Kremlin in August. Reporting for Newsline World, this is Valdivina Gracia, SMNI News.
Presidential son in Ilocos Norte Representative Sandro Marcos reportedly will not participate in the hearings regarding his father's impeachment case. That in other news in MJ Mondijar's report.
House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos announced on Monday that he will recuse himself or will not participate in any hearings and proceedings regarding the impeachment complaints against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. In a statement, Marcos said that his decision stems from the complaints filed against the president, his own father, which is why he chose to abstain from all discussions, deliberations, and proceedings of the House Committee on Rules related to these cases. The House leader further stated that this decision is not due to a legal obligation, but rather to uphold the integrity of the House, safeguard the credibility of its processes, and maintain public trust in the constitutional system. Marcos issued a statement after a second impeachment complaint against President Marcos was submitted this Monday by left-wing lawmakers in the House. It was also confirmed that the House Secretary General Cheloy Garafil has received the said complaint. Meanwhile, the impeachment complaints against the president went unmentioned in House Speaker Boji D's very first privileged speech of the year. Instead, his speech focused on opening the House to discussions on the anti-political dynasty bill. The lower house is also reportedly open to using blockchain technology for the next budget cycle. Speaker D had previously stated that he does not believe in the grounds for impeachment against President Marcos Jr.
Bubuksan natin ang diskusyon na matagal nang iniiwasan. Kabilang dito ang anti-political dynasty bill. Alam kong ito'y sensitibo at personal para sa ilan, maging sa aking sariling pamilya. Ngunit kung seryoso tayo sa reforma, kung ang hangad natin ay patas na pagkakataon para sa lahat, we must have the courage to talk about it. Sisimulan na natin ang mga reformang magbubukas ng bagong yugto para sa kapulungan. Together with the DICT, we will introduce blockchain technology to make the processes and documents of the House more accessible to the public. Ito ay malinaw na mensahe na wala tayong itinatago, wala tayong pinagtatakpan, at bukas tayo sa pagsusuri ng sambayanan.
Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondihar, SMNI News.
Philippine immigration authorities say they are tightening security at a detention facility after a deported Russian vlogger claimed he smuggled a cell phone inside and filmed content while in custody. Daniela Politi reports.
What's up, guys?
Deported Russian vlogger Vitaly Durovetsky revealed that he was able to smuggle a cell phone while he was detained at the Bureau of Immigration's detention facility in Taguig. In an interview with social media personality Adin Ross, the Russian vlogger shared his experience while detained in the Philippines and claimed he would expose alleged corruption inside the detention facility. He further alleged that he was able to bring in a cell phone by bribing guards, claims the Bureau of Immigration says it is now investigating. Durovetsky was arrested in April 2025 for harassing and insulting Filipinos in Bonifacio Global City for his online content. He was deported on January 17. According to Bureau of Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval, the agency immediately conducted an investigation and found that the incident occurred around June or July of last year.
Doon po sa period ng post po ni Vitaly, it happened po around siguro June or July. Nakita po doon sa video na yon na may kasama siya na isang foreign national. At nung nakita po yung reports about that foreign national, he has been previously involved sa pagpupuslit po ng mga gadgets papasok po ng facility. Although deported na po siya, nung time po na yon na nandoon po siya, nahuli po siya na nagpupuslit po through the assistance of his Filipino wife na nagsisilid po ng mga cellphone, mga kung ano-ano pong mga paraphernalia, papasok po ng pasilidad.
Immigration officials say that they conducted a massive raid at 2 BI facilities in Taguig and Muntinlupa to ensure that no contraband would continue to enter the facilities. Gadgets and other unauthorized items were confiscated by personnel.
Doon po sa raid, marami pa po na recover ng mga iba't ibang unauthorized na paraphernalia. Meron po tayong nakuha, may pera, may mga gadgets, cellphones, sharp objects. Ito po lahat ay unauthorized na ipinasok po sa facility.
Meanwhile, 3 Bureau of Immigration personnel found responsible for the incident have been dismissed from their post. To prevent similar incidents, the Bureau of Immigration will strictly prohibit the use of mobile phones inside the detention facility. Instead, Landline phones and video call booths will be installed.
Isa po sa nais i-implement ni Commissioner Viado ngayon is to remove na yung use nila ng mobile phones nila, ng mga cellphones nila. Pero hindi naman natin naalisin yung karapatan nila na matawagan po ang kanilang pamilya or their council or their embassy.
Meanwhile, the Russian blogger remains banned from returning to the Philippines due to his violations. However, if it is proven that he initiated corruption within the facility, he may face charges and possible extradition according to the Department of Justice. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
After the break, France votes to ban social media for children under 15. The National Assembly overwhelmingly passed the bill championed by President Macron to protect the mental health of the nation's youth. And in the world of sports, Stephen Curry led the Warriors to victory in Minneapolis. Golden State cruised past the Timberwolves amid a heavy atmosphere following the fatal shooting of a local man by federal agents. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Ikaw ba ay namomroblema sa taas ng electric bill buwan-buwan? Huwag mag-alala, narito ang ilang paraan upang makatipid sa kuryente. Patayin ang mga ilaw at appliances kapag hindi ginagamit. Sa halip ay gumamit ng natural na liwanag upang makatipid sa kuryente. Tanggalin sa saksakan ang mga appliances kung hindi ginagamit. Iwasan ang paggamit ng maraming appliances ng sabay-sabay. Gumamit ng LED bulbs. Ito ay mas tipid sa kuryente kumpara sa mga incandescent at fluorescent bulbs. Regular na linisin ang mga appliances tulad ng electric fan, aircon vents at refrigerator. Magkaroon ng takdang araw sa isang linggo sa pamamalansya at paglalaba. Gumamit ng energy-efficient appliances. Tandaan, maging wais sa paggamit ng kuryente upang makatipid para mas gumaan ang buhay. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Sa kabila ng mga mas modernong kaalaman at teknolohiya, nananatiling matindi ang banta ng HIV sa Pilipinas. Pero gaano nga ba kalala ang sitwasyon? Ang HIV o Human Immunodeficiency Virus ay isang sakit na sumisira sa immune system ng katawan. Ngunit tandaan, Hindi ito nakukuha sa simpleng pakikisalamuha. Hindi mo agad mararamdaman, pero unti-unti nitong pinapahina ang katawan. At kapag hindi naagapan, humahantong ito sa AIDS, ang huling yugto na impeksyon, kung saan halos wala ng panlaban ng katawan laban sa sakit. Patuloy na dumadami ang kaso ng sakit na ito sa Pilipinas. Isang nakababahalang pagtaas. Umabot na sa 500% ang itinaas ng HIV cases sa mga kabataang edad 15 hanggang 25. Ayon mismo sa Department of Health, 56 na bagong kaso ang naitatala kada araw sa bansa mula Enero hanggang Marso 2025. At ang pinakamatinding apektado, ang kalalakihan at kabataang Pilipino. Dahil dito, ang Pilipinas na ngayon ang may pinakamataas na bilang ng bagong kaso ng HIV sa buong Western Pacific region. Isang indikasyon ng lumulubahang sitwasyon, kaya nananawagan ng Department of Health gawing opisyal at urgent ang laban sa HIV sa pamamagitan ng isang Public Health Emergency Declaration. Kalalakihan ng pangunahing apektado, 95% ng bagong kaso ay lalaki, mahigit 1/3 ay kabataang nasa edad 15 hanggang 24. Habang wala pang deklarasyon, patuloy ang DOH sa mga sumusunod na hakbang: HIV testing, libreng gamot, self-test kits, at pakikipagtulungan sa DepEd para sa edukasyon sa mga paaralan. Isinulong rin ng DOH ang online patient appointment system para sa HIV patients. Layunin nitong gawing mas madali at mas personal ang pag-access sa libreng gamutan at konsultasyon. Ayon sa schedule ng pasyente, ang HIV ay hindi tulad ng flu. Hindi ito basta naipapasa sa hangin. Ito ay naipapasa sa pamamagitan ng personal na desisyon. Kailangan din nating pagtuunan ng pansin ang ugali, disiplina, at personal na responsibilidad. Isang paalala mula sa SMNI.
And we're back. The European Union has formally approved a ban on Russian gas imports by late 2027. A move Moscow says will damage Europe's economy and energy independence. Jean Domingo will give us more details.
EU leaders has finalized legislation to phase out Russian pipeline gas and liquefied natural gas, marking one of the bloc's most significant energy policy shifts since the war in Ukraine began. The ban will be rolled out gradually, with safeguards allowing contracts to be wound down and emergency measures triggered if supplies are threatened. European officials say the move is designed to strengthen long-term energy security, even as prices remain volatile across the continent. The EU has already slashed Russian oil imports to below 3% of its total supply. But gas remains a key challenge, especially for countries that once relied heavily on Russian pipeline deliveries. The European Commission is also preparing separate legislation to end Russian oil imports by the end of 2027. But Russia sharply criticized the decision. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said the European Council was giving up its freedom and replacing dependence on Russian gas with reliance on other suppliers, particularly the United States. Zakharova took a jab at the EU, saying, quote, "It is difficult to say definitively whether they are happy vassals or miserable slaves. Time will tell. They did give up their freedom anyway." End of quote. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
In a dramatic reversal from earlier debates, the French National Assembly has overwhelmingly passed a bill to ban social media for children under the age of 15. Championed by President Emmanuel Macron, the legislation aims to curb excessive screen time and protect the mental health of the nation's youth. This report. In a marathon overnight session ending Tuesday, French lawmakers took a decisive step in regulating the digital lives of the next generation. The National Assembly voted 130 to 21 in favor of a landmark bill that would prohibit minors under 15 from accessing social media platforms. President Emmanuel Macron hailed the outcome as a major step, asserting that the emotional development of French teenagers should not be manipulated by foreign algorithms. The law, which also extends an existing mobile phone ban to high schools, is set to be fast-tracked through the Senate, with officials aiming for enforcement by September 1st, 2026. Under the proposed rules, social media companies will have until the end of 2026 to deactivate existing accounts that do not meet the age requirement. While the bill received broad support as a health emergency response to cyberbullying, it has not been without its critics. Lawmakers from the left-wing France Unbowed Party called the move digital paternalism, while child protection groups argued the focus should be on holding platforms accountable rather than banning users. Despite these concerns, the French government believes this pioneer move will set a standard for digital independence across Europe. As the bill moves to the upper house, the focus now shifts to the technical challenge of building an effective age verification system that complies with European privacy laws. Reporting from Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News. ASEAN member states and the +3 countries, China, Japan, and the Republic of Korea,